This week on Lost in Adaptation. Oh, Christ, here we go. Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to the second episode of Lost in Adaptation. And this week we are tackling something that, well, it's not good. It's not good. And honestly, I don't really want to cover this, but I have to because this show is horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And you know why? Because it could have been good. And this is something that meant a lot to me. This show could have been amazing. It could have been the next NCIS. It could have been the next CSI, the next NCSF SDSUV. But it wasn't. It just wasn't. Now, King and Maxwell is based off of the book series by David Baldacci, one of my personal favorite authors. And he actually wrote my favorite book of all time, The Sixth Man, which I'm waving around in front of you right now for dramatic effect. Now, maybe wondering, well, if that's your favorite book, why don't you like this show? Well, let me tell you, because they butcher it. This book is the pilot episode of the show. Now, this is one of the most complex books I have ever read in my life. The plot is incredibly intricate and focuses on so many multifaceted things that it just doesn't fit on a 45-minute episode of a television show. Now, the show does good things. It does do one thing really, really well. And I'll explain that in a minute. But this movie... But this show just falls flat in every single aspect, with the exception of the one that I mentioned. And, when I start, I don't know if I can stop. I may have to have someone restrain me or sedate me so I can finish this in, well, normal time. Because I don't want another Lost in Adaptation episode being 30 minutes long, because honestly, who has the time for that? And really, if I start going on this, I'll end up doing this for 6 hours and just reading the book to you. Because, honestly, it's better. Yeah, actually, it would be better for you to just read the book and forget the show ever existed. But I already mentioned it, so you're not going to forget. Oh, God, what have I done? What have I done? Okay, so, what we're going to be talking about, let's get the good thing out of the way. Right now. The casting for the two main characters was good. It was really good. I actually enjoy these two being the main characters of the show. I think they're perfect for the personalities. You know, we have Rebecca Romaine and we have John Tenney, who are both good actors, or at least I think they are. Now, if you don't know who they are, let me show you. Okay, first we have John Tenney playing the part of Sean King, who's a cool, collected, methodical detective. Well, after getting fired from the Secret Service, as did Michelle Maxwell. And here we have the gorgeous Rebecca Romaine filling in for the part of Michelle Maxwell. And honestly, I think it's great because Michelle Maxwell is the show's resident badass. And Rebecca Romaine can carry that part. In fact, she's still playing that part, just on another show. Although I still think they should have used this costume for the show. Would have made it a lot more interesting. And yes, in case you're wondering, that is Rebecca Romaine as Mystique from the X-Men franchise. I actually did not know that. It's kind of interesting. Now, you might be asking yourself, aside from the two lead actors playing this part, what else is good about this show? Wait, let me check my notes. There's nothing. Nothing else is good about this show. Now, they have great chemistry. Those two actors, when they are on screen together, do good work. They really do. And, you know, most of the people in the show have been in other things. They've been in good things. With the exception of John Tenney. I don't know why. The biggest main thing he's been in is Green Lantern. And I think we all know about that. So, now, there's a huge character in the book. Well, actually, yeah, huge as in significance and huge as in height. There's a character, his name is Edgar Roy, who plays a huge part in the book. and is completely embarrassing in the show. Now, the actor playing him, I'm not super familiar with him, but his name is Ryan Hurst. Oh yeah, that's the guy. Now, this is him from Sons of Anarchy, and honestly, he's the biggest name actor in the show, which is a little weird. And honestly, they should have left him looking like this. It would have been a lot better. Would have fit the character a little more. But instead, he looks like this. Yeah. Whew, that's, Now, it's sad when the most recognizable actor in your movie, Ryan Hurst, who has been in a ton of movies. I didn't know this. But he was in Saving Private Ryan, Remember the Titans, and an old favorite of mine, old favorite little cult comedy starring Tom Hanks, The Lady Killers. You know, I didn't know he was in that, or Sons of Anarchy, to tell you the truth. But this guy is technically the biggest name in the movie, and they relegate him to the side character. He is he's the Oracle to their Batman, okay? He plays the part of Edgar Roy, who is wrongly convicted of killing 6 men and burying them in his farmhouse. Now, he didn't do this, of course, because, well, you know, like I said, wrongly convicted. Well, that's where the 6th man comes in, and the fact that he was part of a program where, well, the E6 program, which basically takes all the information you could possibly imagine, putting it on a dozen different screens and setting someone smart down and making them watch it. They watch all this stuff, they gather all this information, and they decide what to do with it. And this guy was the only person who could do it. He had an eidetic memory, an IQ north of 200. And he was a perfectly normal guy. He was normal, soft-spoken, nice guy. And he was a certifiable genius. Think Dr. Reed from Criminal Minds, but smarter and with a better memory. This guy could remember things that happened when he was 1. At the time they arrest him, he has not said a word. He's been in prison for 6 months, and there's nothing. He's just dead silent, catatonic. He does not move unless someone leads him around. And he's an intimidating guy. Now, in the book, he is 7 feet tall. He's about 7 feet tall, really long, stringy black hair, and these giant glasses. He's incredibly skinny, which, honestly, I'm not criticizing Ryan for, you know, his physical appearance. I mean, honestly, I can't judge. But they made him look like such a dork in this show. Oh, God. Now, for a character who's supposed to look like a rail, this dude's way too muscular and way too big. Honestly, that doesn't really fit, but whatever. And they take this guy. They take a character who's perfectly normal, and they make him into an autistic character. Now, I know a lot about autism. I do. And I know that there's nothing wrong with it, and I know, you know, the basic signs of it, but why? Was it just to have an autistic character in the show? The token individual with a mental handicap? What's the thing? You know, I don't get it. I have met people with autism. They did not act like this guy. It's like someone gave him a pamphlet. Things crazy people do in TV and movies. And they have him act like a 2-year-old. And it doesn't make sense. You know, this guy is 30 years old, remembers every single moment of his life. Which honestly, I don't think I can handle that. I don't think I can remember every single moment of my life, or want to. But this character, the reason he is silent is that he's sitting, contemplating, thinking, figuring out who put him there. And he does this within the first day. Then there's nothing left for him to do. So he kicks back and waits on his older sister to break him out of jail. His older sister, who in this show is relegated to the point of basically non-existent. She's in for one scene. One scene. Why am I keep showing 2? Okay. His sister, in the books, is a complete boss. My God. She's an CIA agent. Yeah, ex-CIA agent. She's a monster of a person. She's about 6'5" and built like a model. In the show, she looks normal. You know, no real thing there, whatever. I'm fine that she looks normal, but they should have made her cool, at least. Now, in the show, once she finds out that, or in the book, rather, sorry, that Sean and Michelle are in trouble, she runs to her nightstand. She grabs her .45 Glock with an extended clip and a small brick of C4 and goes out after them. Yeah, that's kind of awesome. And her and Michelle kind of carry, you know, the awesome badass part, and Sean King is doing the almost mentalist type intelligence work. He's like incredibly intelligent. He was a lawyer, then he became a Secret Service agent, then a private detective after he got fired. My God, dude, pick a career. Go back to being a lawyer. Ugh. Now, honestly, this show not only spoiled the ending of the book for me. Granted, I still read it, and it's still my favorite book of all time. But it completely shattered the characters. Well, every one of them except for the main two, like I said. This book was amazing, and this show was garbage. It was not only garbage, but to me, it was personally insulting. I felt violated, outright violated, that this was what we get. I couldn't watch this show. After the first episode, I was like, well, okay, it's bad. I thought it was going to be bad, but I prepared for that. I thought it was going to be bad. I knew it. But after the third episode, I kind of found myself like this. Yeah, this show kind of puts me in a bad place. But the one thing it did give me is avatars for these characters. And I thank them for that. And I curse them for what they did to everybody else. Oh, it's just so bad. You ever see something you love get destroyed? Not in a personal sense, but I mean like one of your favorite things. Like a book or video game, which is a whole nother rat's nest. You know, I actually heard people complain, you know, with rage, not as bad as I did, but about those stupid Twilight movies. And to that I say, oh, you're an idiot. Why did you even think that would be good? And then I realized that they care just as much about those books as I do about this one. And I realized that I kind of feel bad for them. That they don't have better taste and that they aren't smarter. But what are you going to do? But as time drags on, you have to think to yourself, is this book going to last? Yes. Is this show going to last? No. So my memory of David Baldacci and his work is going to live on far, far beyond what this show ever could. Does that mean that they're never going to do anything like this again? No. Honestly, I want this book to be a movie. I do. But I do not want some idiot directing it. Personally, I wouldn't mind directing it myself. Now, I have no training, as you can see, from my amazing camera angles. They are just glorious. I have no training in cinematography. I have never been any sort of film schooling or whatever, but I'm fairly certain I could do a better job. And I think the people who did this, they had talent, they had skill, they had a decent main cast. Now, if they'd changed certain things, gotten rid of a certain character here and there, and, well, basically handed it over to someone who read the books, or at least one of them, Jesus. Now, there's 7 books. I don't have all of them, but I'm assuming they're all not horrible, you know, because that one's awesome. And the other one I have is pretty good. But something is just amiss. I don't know what happened on the creative side of things to make it this bad, but it could be. Could be anything, really. Could be the fact that screenwriters just decided to wipe their ass with the project and left. Actually, that's probably what happened, to tell you the truth. Now, I have to ask myself a question here on Lost in Adaptation. What could you do to make it better? What could you do? Honestly, I would have done what I said in the beginning. Take each individual book and spread one of them over a season, rather than a 45-minute episode. Now, there's probably not going to be as much action, but it's going to be more interesting. There's not going to be a villain of the week, like the show had. You could do a lot of things with this premise. And it's not incredibly original. I admit that. I understand that it's not original. Not everything can be original. I've actually heard that there are only 7 stories in existence, and we can just keep retelling those stories. But a good story, that's what you need. And that's what they had. And they failed on a crucial level. And I have to say that this show is garbage. If you have the horrible, horrible curiosity, the morbid curiosity, to go and watch this, I am begging you, don't do it. Don't do it. Just me and you here, don't do it. No. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up another installment of Lost in Adaptation. I have been your horrible host, Mike, and if you like the show, leave a like. If you have a question, leave a comment, and if you didn't like it, remember, everyone's a critic.